You walk through a world that never stops talking, never stops demanding, never stops distracting. Every street, every screen, every conversation insists upon your attention. Yet, in that insistence, your own voice is drowned. Modern noise hides the fractures within you, the subtle cracks where weakness accumulates unseen, and it persuades you that survival is external. That rescue is just one call, one signal away. But the truth is quieter and far heavier. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the space where reality cannot be ignored, where the raw weight of life presses against your chest and leaves no room for excuses. Musashi understood this. His fiercest battles, the ones that shaped him beyond recognition, were not fought with swords against men, but with eyes open to the stillness of the dawn. With his mind staring into itself unflinchingly, he walked paths where no one came to cheer, where the landscape demanded confrontation with what was inside, and there, in that quiet, the fiercest truths emerged. You feel it, the terror of facing yourself with nothing to distract you, nothing to soften the gaze you finally turn inward. Society tries to pacify you, filling the empty moments with chatter, entertainment and reassurance, because if you heard the silence, you would hear the truth. Your life, your strength, your clarity are yours to claim alone. This is the jolt, the moment you realize that understanding begins where the crowd retreats. And in that quiet, you are tested not by others, but by the measure of your own gaze. The world clamors endlessly, insisting upon your attention, shouting orders and judgments you never requested. Every voice pulls at the edges of your mind, fragmenting your focus, diluting your will. In this constant demand for sound, strength is nearly impossible to recognize. Musashi thrived precisely because he ignored the spectacle, the applause, the distraction of the crowd, focusing instead on what could not be seen and cannot be measured. Strength is not born from echoing society. It arises from mastering the silence within, from listening when no one else dares, from acting when the world is oblivious. The cost of listening only to the crowd is fragmentation of mind, erosion of perception, a spirit diluted by external noise. Yet silence is not absence, it is a battlefield. Here strategy is conceived, clarity is sharpened, and the untrained are left exposed. Each pause, each unobserved moment becomes armor against the distractions that seek to weaken you. You feel it, a tension that is both uncomfortable and necessary. The quiet is alive, and it demands your attention, your commitment, your willingness to endure without applause. Only here does the true warrior emerge. Pain and growth reveal themselves fully only when unshared, when no one walks beside you to dilute the lesson. Musashi often traveled alone, untethered from validation, free from the burden of others' expectations. Loneliness is not a punishment. It is the crucible where identity is forged, endurance tempered, and perception sharpened. Modern dependence on social approval blinds the eye, weakens resolve, and masks the subtle truths that only the solitary can perceive. In isolation, every fear, every hesitation, every fragment of unexamined character is laid bare. The unspoken truths whisper in the spaces society fills with noise. And when you embrace that solitude consciously, you transform not by avoiding discomfort, not by seeking applause, but by allowing the silence to shape you. The walk becomes a lesson, the distance a measure of your resolve, and the unshared path the only one that truly matters. You realize, with slow clarity, that mastery, perception, and strength are claimed only when you are willing to endure the unspoken alone. Silence exposes. what no one else can see, the hidden fears, hesitation, and weakness that dwell within. Musashi's fiercest duels were against himself, fought in the quiet hours before dawn, where no applause existed and no one bore witness. Modern distraction shields you from this internal battlefield, leaving most men unarmed against the subtle assaults of their own minds. But in the stillness, the confrontation is unavoidable. Doubt rises, ego protests, hesitation tempts, and only repeated acknowledgement, only deliberate facing of these internal adversaries builds authority. Silence becomes a weapon, sharpening perception, hardening resolve, and revealing the truth that victory within always precedes any conquest without. You must listen, truly listen, to the enemy that resides behind your eyes, for it is patient, it is persistent, and it is undefeated if ignored. Only by acknowledging its presence can you move beyond it, walking through the world not as prey to distraction, but as a master of your internal domain. True discipline does not perform. It does not seek recognition, applause, or admiration. It is cultivated in the unseen hours, in repetition without reward, in the quiet labor that the world never observes. Musashi's daily dedication was invisible to all but himself, and it is here, in this solitude, that strength is truly forged. Modern performative effort is noise, a shallow imitation of real power, designed to impress but incapable of sustaining in moments of true trial. Inner order, maintained in silence, becomes the foundation upon which endurance, mastery, and clarity are built. The repetition of hardship, the embrace of quiet responsibility, the daily sharpening of mind and body, all of this transforms struggle into subtle power. The applause you seek outside is irrelevant. It is the unseen work, the invisible discipline that defines the man. You learn, slowly, that what is unseen is infinitely stronger than what is performed. Pain is not always loud. Often it whispers, subtle and unrelenting, revealing what avoidance can never teach. Modern life encourages you to dull perception, to anesthetize discomfort, to mask suffering with distraction. Musashi embraced hardship deliberately, the cold that bites, the hunger that gnaws, the solitude that presses, and in that silence, he learned what no comfort could offer. Pain in stillness instructs, guiding you toward truths unnoticed by those immersed in noise. Voluntary suffering carries clarity. Accidental suffering breeds chaos. Endurance is forged where discomfort meets conscious awareness. The warrior who listens understands that insight is earned where others flee. That strength emerges not in the absence of struggle, but in the unbroken attention to it. This is the curriculum of mastery, written in the quiet language of endurance. Resistance is a silent amplifier of suffering. The more you struggle against reality, the heavier its weight becomes. Musashi's mastery, honed in solitude, expressed itself not in spectacle or noise, but in the still presence of a man at peace with what is. Silence neutralizes the storms that enslave most men: fear, doubt, distraction, and impatience. The quiet warrior observes first, perceives deeply, and acts with precision born of understanding. Strength emerges as composure, not aggression. Authority manifests not through display, but through the consistency of presence, forged in trials unseen, endured in quiet, and repeated in the long hours when no one watches. You recognize, perhaps uncomfortably, that power exists in the calm that the world overlooks, and that mastery of self is inseparable from the patience to endure quietly. Silence is the only path to self-mastery, a path that cannot be handed to you, purchased, or borrowed. Musashi aligned body, mind, and spirit through solitude, shaping strength that required no external validation. Clarity, resilience, and freedom arise from internal order alone, cultivated through deliberate observation, quiet endurance, and disciplined reflection. Pain and challenge become guides, companions that teach without words or applause. Mastery is never granted. It is claimed by those willing to endure the quiet, to walk alone when the world is deafening, and to hear the truths that noise conceals. You awaken to a revelation. The power of the warrior exists precisely where the world cannot reach. In the unbroken silence you choose to inhabit, and in that space, you finally understand that mastery is yours to claim if you are willing to face it alone.